McCullough, and from North Family Farm in Canterbury, New Hampshire. We started in 1974, Tim and myself. My family had a dairy farm in Vermont, and I had no involvement or interest in it. And I wanted to farm in a smaller and more diversified way. So it was book in hand and with gardening and farming. And Tim and I learned together.
My parents also had a dairy farm here in Canterbury. They sold the cows, and then Jill and I started farming here again in 1974 with organic veggies. We milked Jersey cows for 8 years, and then Percheron horses for probably 10 or 12 years. So that was they're the big workhorses. And we farmed with them and logged with them. We don't have the Percheron horse, and we had a stallion and some mares, and we were breeding and raising them and training them. We did the logging, and we had a sawmill. We milled the lumber and sold lumber, firewood, maple syrup. Now we've kind of diminished the different enterprises on the farm to firewood, maple, honey, hay, and logging.
And Tim skipped ahead because it was, how did we get involved with NOFA? And around 1976, we met Samuel Kamen and took his soil science health course. And then he also loaned us his cow, Melissa, a Jersey cow, which launched us into a small dairy that we continued, 4-cow dairy that we continued for 8 years, like Tim said.
Samuel was experimenting with making yogurt, and he gave us his yogurt maker and his recipe, and we made yogurt and sold it for quite a while.
And butter and cheese.
And butter and cheese and raw milk. And he and Gary Hirschberg started up the Stonyfield yogurt down in Wilton, and at Stonyfield Farm. They had the Rural Education Center down there, and they were discovering they could fund the rural education by selling yogurt, and they bought our cows and what we had of our what was left of our yogurt equipment, and so they went off into yogurt, and we didn't, so that was all right.
Sold the cows, had kids and sold the cows.
Yeah.
Growing NOFA New Hampshire was challenging, but timely. It was formed just as the Back to the Land movement was developing. The struggles were that many of the members were so busy trying to develop a farm or a business that at least we didn't have a lot of time to devote to going to meetings, etc. The wins were educational and social events that were held, and networking. That really helped. I think I've answered a few questions.
like the conferences, the early conferences were important to us. I think it was Lois Booth who introduced us first to NOFA, and she told us about Samuel Kamen, and we met him, and he had this organization called No Fooling Around, NOFA. No, that was Natural Organic Farmers Association, but he called it No Fooling Around. And some of the early New Hampshire members were Jake Guest, Mary Kerwin, Melanie Stevens, Ben Ladd, Robert Hourier from Hardwick was an important early Vermont member. But going to Vermont for meetings, it seemed like the interests and issues and focus of New Hampshire was beginning to diverge from what Vermont NOFA was doing. And so separating from Vermont into a New Hampshire chapter was it was a process that it wasn't unfriendly. It was just a little bit difficult how to figure it out. And then Jill became the New Hampshire membership coordinator for several years.
Briefly.
Yeah.
I was on the board briefly.
Yeah.
When time allowed. But I had an aging parent and 2 young kids and
And farm.
and a farm. Oh yeah, and a farm.
I would say the conferences were wins. They were a great time for people to get together, like-minded people who had been working kind of in their own bubbles on their farms, and then get together and share. And it was an exciting time. And you know, to visit, and the after hours, the contra dances, or that kind of potlucks. Yeah, all that was.
So I would say education was really, you know, workshops over the years, throughout the year, and the conference. The bulk order has been really good, and providing a network of like-minded people, or people to expand your mind, perhaps.
I guess I would have to just go back to the conferences, just meeting people, hearing people, arriving at a workshop and thinking that I knew something about growing, and then hearing something that just turned my head around and gave me something to think about for weeks and something to try. That's so helpful.
I think meeting Samuel, he just had so much energy and so many ideas, enough for everyone. So that was,
yeah,
he really propelled.
He's a very inspiring person.
Yeah.
And just very kind and caring, and his whole family.
Yeah.
Well, in Vermont, I think NOFA does the organic certification now, and that's an important piece for organic farmers. Although I heard they're a little stricter than the New Hampshire Department of Markets and Food, so who does it in New Hampshire, and then I guess MOFCA does it over in Maine. So that educational piece, because you know, you can say, oh, I'm going to be an organic farmer, but then when you have to actually comply with the National Organic Program rules and all the paperwork and the reporting that's required, that takes it to another level. So you know, NOFA has, I think, led the way in Vermont there with the certification process. So I think that's one big piece that NOFA has done. And then just general education and encouragement of people getting going with organic farming.
I guess the energy concerns and really focusing on plastic and trash and how to be innovative with all the mess that we've made. Packaging. Yeah.
Yeah. We send a lot of plastic out in the world in our maple syrup jugs. We do as much glass as we can. On-farm energy use, diesel fuel, you can use a lot of diesel fuel on a farm. We've tried to use the wind and the sun and biodiesel, and actually we do that, but it takes extra effort. It's hard to say. I mean, 50 years ago, we never would have imagined talking to you on a computer screen.
Right. I don't think we'll be around in 50 years.
So it's hard to. I would say embrace new technology that's appropriate, and try to sort out what's appropriate and not appropriate, and help organic farmers use that in terms of networking and marketing. One of the things that's helped us recently in marketing is the food hubs. Our syrup is going into two different places where they aggregate food and then do home deliveries and deliveries to restaurants. And that in the last couple of years has become an important sales opportunity. I think helping farmers find sales opportunities is important. Promoting especially direct sales, but the food hubs, I mean, you get wholesale price at the food hubs, but you move a lot. But the direct sales, you get the better price point, and you get to meet the customers. So,
but it's more work.
but it's more work. So I think continue with the education on the production side of the crops, and then the marketing and sales, all important. I don't know if NOFA has done anything with business management in terms of accounting, the boring stuff, the accounting, the bookkeeping,
Website development,
websites, social media, all of that for people our age doesn't come naturally. So I mean, we didn't grow up with our grandson knows how to use he's 7 and he knows how to use our iPhone as well as we do. So it's keeping up with all that new technology is important. Also learning to adapt to changing weather patterns, because last week we had floods that flooded some of our equipment, and electric motors have to go to the repair shop. And so a
lot of roads need reconstructing.
Farm roads need to be rebuilt. Figuring out how to respond to the changing weather patterns. Perhaps different, even growing different varieties of crops as the weather changes. I think that changing climate is going to be one of the bigger challenges in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
We definitely are already feeling it, especially in the maple. We're tapping earlier and ending the season has gotten shorter. Maple season has gotten quite a bit shorter, by almost a week in the last 30 years. Don't give up. Yeah.
Try again. Because in the words of our grandson, and we started with vegetables, and we just realized our soil wasn't appropriate. So you have to keep trying different things to see what fits your farm and the assets that you have on the farm. Like we discovered maple, and Tim had to look far and wide for maple trees, but he found them. And for 10 years, we tried to work with horses, and we're hilly and we're rocky, and it was not appropriate. So
they worked well in the woods. The horses did,
but not field work. So yeah, learn about your farm and try different things, see what works.
Be ready to adapt. The UNH Cooperative Extension Service has changed a lot. Back in the 70s, they were really pretty much conventional farming only. And now they're, integrated pest management, organic. They'll give you advice on organic. And, if you get a soil test back, they'll give you conventional recommendations and organic recommendations. They never used to do that. So they're a great resource.
Right. I think NOFA could use
and to partner with.
Yeah. We happen to be on the Cooperative Extension Board, and so, which
for
is
Merrimack,
a sign of the time. Yeah.
For Merrimack County.
Also business establishment advice.
They had been running a class on starting farming businesses.
Yeah.
a series of classes. I don't know if they're running them now. I think the guy who organized it retired from Extension service, but I think that NOFA could encourage them if that's a need.
Or do some of the conference workshops. I bet they,
Collaborations, maybe.
yeah, yeah. In Canterbury, and maybe in other towns, they developed a routine of every 10 years upgrading a plan for tomorrow, they call it.
Part of the zoning, town zoning.
Yeah, and they gather input from the town and as to what they want their town to be like, look like,
For land use, like for
right.
How's the land going to be used in town?
Right, and with this committee, they were saying, a lot of people want agriculture in the town, but do they really know about the smells, the noise, so encouraging towns to really embrace, and because they're feeling like it's a limited resource, and once you put houses in the middle of a field, that's pretty much gone, or pave over, and so encouraging that foresight among towns.
The town planners. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our son just arrived to deliver firewood this morning.
He works here part-time, helps us with the firewood, the logging, and the maple syrup primarily. Sometimes helps with hay. Our younger son, who lives just down the road with his 3 kids and wife, works for the Natural Resource Conservation Service, U.S. Department of Agriculture. He's a grazing specialist for pasturing animals. So he does trainings and workshops.
And the balance of our other son's farm work is he installs solar with Paray in Plymouth.
Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative in Plymouth. He works for them.
Mm-hmm. Which works well. They keep him busy, and then we keep him busy.
Right. They're both part-time for him.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen to our land. We just don't know.
No.
But we did put conservation easement on it, so it's farm and forest land forever for 99% of it.
Both our sons have set themselves up with really nice situations, houses that I think. So who knows what will happen to our house and farm, but time will tell.
Yeah.